Shinigami vs Shinobi. What happens when the captain of the 6th division of the Gotei 13 enters the human realm to retrieve a captured Shinigami? Can he successfully capture his quarry? Does he need to retreat and call for backup? Or is he just gonna get packed up? We'll go over that today, but with a twist. Sup folks, Robot here, and with the Bleach Final Core coming out, now's as good a time as ever to do one of these videos with a Bleach character. And in this case I'm using Byakuya, as he's one of the characters I like a lot more from the series, plus he actually has an interesting and varied power set. I'm following the alt emo theme, plus a huge part of their story revolving around being deceptively abusive to their sibling, and placing him against Itachi. We'll say for some hypothetical BS reason, Itachi and Kisame captured Rukia because her Shinigami powers made them think she might be a Jinchuriki or something. I'll use a similar battle setup to Sasuke vs Itachi and Byakuya's first appearance. So imagine Byakuya and Renji show up to the Uchiha hideout, while Kisame keeps Renji occupied. Byakuya takes on Itachi, who in this version is fully healthy and doesn't have anime cancer. I'll run the hypothetical while assessing the scaling for both sides to justify my reasoning for who comes out on top. And oh yeah, I forgot to address it, but the twist is that this is an equal stats matchup. I'm taking both as being equal base to base, cause everyone and their mom has heard Bleach fans decry every Bleach character to be galaxy level to multiversal cause of one rando from a light novel. Okay, I'm being a bit fictitious. There are other supporting arguments, but I don't want to get into all that. Even where I realistically scale the Bleach mid to high tiers, they are bare minimum 6 paths tier, and regular Itachi ain't beating anyone on that level. So please, Bleach fans, I put this disclaimer at the start of the video. If it's not equal stats, then as the title and thumbnail show, it's not close. So don't come for me. Okay, now that we've cleared that up, let's actually get into the video. Right off the bat, Byakuya walks into the hideout to see Itachi on the throne. I don't imagine either would have much to say to the other, so they'll just do the anime stare at each other while aura farming bit. Then Byakuya will start proceedings by using Flash Step to get behind Itachi and stab him through the back. But things won't be as they seem. Now at this point I feel it's necessary to address the question that comes up in any Naruto cross-verse battle: does Genjutsu work? But I think it's more encompassing to address just verse equalization in general, at least briefly. For starters, hot take, I don't use verse equalization in cross-verse battles unless both sides benefit from the exchange. When some people do it in cross-verse battles without the caveats, basically any JJK cross-verse battle with a domain expansion, only one side gains from it and the other side is left with squat. Doesn't seem like a fair trade-off where one side just has an upper hand off the bat. And in this case I didn't use verse equalization because for starters I'm doing equal stats, so Byakuya wouldn't benefit from the Bleach Ryatsu, Spirit Crush, or Power Nulling abilities if you're significantly stronger than your opponent. While for Itachi he also doesn't benefit because Naruto characters can see souls or spirits, so the they can't see Bleach characters bit is null, and Sharingan Genjutsu in my opinion works cross-verse. You've all heard the arguments how Sharingan Genjutsu injects the user's chakra into the target through their ocular nerves rather than controlling the target's chakra, blah blah blah. So, from the reaction, he'd have thought the job's done, but then Itachi would burst into crows as the Genjutsu gets dispelled, and Byakuya would turn to see Itachi unmoved in the distance. Both realizing that it's gonna take a lot more than that to settle this, we're ready to engage properly with blades and shuriken. Byakuya charging in with his Genjutsu to match Itachi unleashing the signature Uchiha Shuriken Jutsu. This will progress with Byakuya pushing through the hailstorm of stars, deflecting them with his blade as he inches ever closer to Itachi. Once he's within range, he'll make a lunge to cleave the Uchiha, while quizzically Itachi also lunges towards him. This is where the benefit of the Sharingan really shows up. Just with like Sasuke vs A, its kinetic vision would help Itachi read Byakuya's charge, even if his Shunpo is faster than his body flicker. Once he's vaulted over, he'll try to go for the head, but Byakuya also has his tricks as well. He can up his Shunpo game to using Senka to basically teleport behind Itachi to land a lethal blow. To continue this band for band, Itachi would have set up a shadow clone to catch Byakuya off guard while he was occupied with the original, but now it'll serve in drawing heat off him while he's in a bad spot. Byakuya would elect to remain in place, but use Byakurai to fend off the shadow clone, and then continue on to finishing his strike, but the time he took to fire the Kido would have given Itachi more than enough time to reset and produce a kunai to parry his strike. As much as a prolonged close quarters battle could go in his favor, Itachi would want to end things quickly and would whip out his MS and hit Byakuya with a Tsukuyomi. And Byakuya, who's basically face to him and has no idea about the Sharingan Genjutsu and not to look him in the eye, is gonna be a sitting duck. Now once again, I do actually have to address Genjutsu in this hypothetical and how it works on Bleach characters. As I explained in my Sasuke vs Garo video, I break down Genjutsu broadly into 3 categories. Paralytic, which are the types that, as the name would imply, paralyze the target and allow the caster to basically land a free hit on the target. Illusory, which allow the caster to fool the target with illusions, whether grand or subtle. And submissive, which allow the caster to control the target by manipulating their reasoning. Before making this battle, I was looking for anything that would enable Byakuya to not just be an ephemeral victim, talk less of Tsukuyomi. I couldn't find anything super obvious, considering Aizen is so OP in Bleach, and his basic ability is essentially just a Genjutsu. But then I found the solution in the most unlikely place, the bounce arc. I know, who would have thought? Shinigami Zanpakuto all have spirits, which can talk to Shinigami, and experienced ones who have Shikai and Bankai more than likely have good relationships with them. That setup kind of resembles the whole Jinchuriki makeup that provides them Genjutsu immunity, and it also ties backwards for this whole hypothetical. As you can imagine, it's why Kisame and Itachi mistook Rukia for a Jinchuriki. In Byakuya's case, Senbonzakura can act like his eyes and ears to help him break free of any submissive or paralytic Genjutsu. And for illusory Genjutsu, should they be grand obvious ones, like at the start of the battle, Senbonzakura can help Byakuya dispel them once he catches on. That said, much like how it's theorized that Tsukuyomi can affect even Jinchuriki, because of how Itachi can manipulate the length of time the illusion is experienced, so Senbonzakura could wake him up from the Genjutsu, but it'd be too late. He'd have been in there for like 3 days. So game set match then? Not so much. This is where another aspect of Shinigami physiology comes to the rescue. They're very long-lived. If I recall, Rukia is like over 100 years old, and Byakuya is obviously even older than her. That means proportionally, the roughly 3 days of torture Itachi would inflict on Byakuya would be a much shorter portion of his life compared to the likes of Kakashi. Yes, I know he can make it a lot longer, like he did with the Uchiha girl, who he basically gave a full life illusion, but in character he wouldn't do that off-rip. He would give him the Kakashi treatment and keep it pushing. So if 27-year-old Kakashi could keep upright for a while, till Itachi and Kisame retreated, 200-year-old plus Byakuya would be affected, but he would still be able to push on and keep fighting. Except at this point, he's gonna release his Shikai, as he'll opt to stay at range to avoid looking Itachi in the eye. Itachi Sharingan would enable him to see the microscopic blades, so he'll know right off the bat to stay clear of them. Then with enough space between them, he'll join in the ranged warfare by unleashing a fireball jutsu at Byakuya, but just as his Shikai can act offensively, it can also act defensively to make a shield to block the jutsu. And to up the ante, Byakuya would unleash his Bankai. Much like the Rasen Shuriken, the 100 million blades would be too numerous for Itachi to track or destroy with a single standard jutsu in his arsenal. He'd be forced on the back foot and have to keep running. But Byakuya can double the speed when manipulating with his hands, and just has so many that he'll outflank Itachi. At this point, this will prompt him to unleash Amaterasu. The Amaterasu, following Itachi's line of sight, would incinerate any microscopic blade he views, and coupled with the fact that it spreads, would engulf the Senbonzakura swarm and start making headway for Byakuya. This will flip the script and get Byakuya on the defensive. To not get engulfed, he'll begin darting around the place to stay ahead of Itachi's vision, which is igniting everything in his path. But even his Shumpo won't be enough. Eventually he'll get tagged and then tumble onto the roof, his Shuhakusho ablaze with the Amaterasu. But just as suddenly, the ruse is revealed, showing that only his Haori got hit with the black flames. Itachi'd be in shock, thinking, where the hell is this guy? But if we trace the path back, we'd see Byakuya, in addition to using Utsusemi, had utilized Danku to create a barrier to block the flames while Itachi continued chasing his afterimage. Now with Itachi a bit gassed from the massive Amaterasu spam, Byakuya whips out Rikujo Koro to restrain Itachi and then resummons the Senbonzakura blades to finish his subdued opponent. And now in the dying moments, just like how Sasuke releasing his Susanoo overpowered Danzo's sealing jutsu, Itachi Susanoo would dispel the Kido, and upon full transformation, the Yada mirror provides the perfect counter to the swarm of blades. With the tide of battle once again swinging in his favor, Itachi would go on the offensive, swinging the Totsuka blade to try and tag Byakuya, who evades by a hair's breadth. The best way to counter this new weapon is once again to keep distance, so Byakuya just decides to fly out of reach of the Totsuka blade. Also, the Yasaka Nagatama beads ain't doing shit, cause Byakuya is more than fast enough to avoid them. It would seem once again that they are at an impasse. The Senbonzakura can't hurt Itachi, but the Totsuka blade can't reach Byakuya. That is what you think, but Byakuya still has gears to go. He switches to all-out offense and deploys Senki, the swarm of floating blades surrounding the grounded Susanoo avatar from all sides. And just like he did against Gerard, he unleashes all 1000 blades simultaneously to overwhelm the Susanoo's defense. Now I realize there's a small but not insignificant amount of people who argue that the Yada mirror is omnidirectional, because look how it grew bigger in this panel compared to before. It's clearly not the case, because if so, Itachi wouldn't need to raise the shield to block attacks in the first place if it just spawned omnidirectionally. So while the shield could block some of the blades, and the Susanoo body itself is pretty durable, Itachi's still gonna get fucked by the attack. As the smoke clears, his body is left in the crater, stripped of its Susanoo. He's left basically defenseless for Byakuya to finish this off with just a courtesy stab. But just as this looks over, crows suddenly appear around the body, and Byakuya is once again on high alert. Itachi looms in the distance, watching the scene, and is ready for round 2. Itachi looks exhausted at this point, so back to basics. He goes in with kunai, and Byakuya elects to counter using Shumpo to close the distance for a sword slash. Byakuya opting to get in close this time to ensure that what he hits is the real one, as he and Senbonzakura are on high alert for any tricks. The result is your speed blitz one shot, and he's certain for this time this is the real one. Well, he's half right. The characteristic poof of the shadow clone dissipating leaves him in shock, and his surprise is further compounded as he notices a glowing sword emanating from his torso. Itachi had gotten him from behind. Pause. The body he had thought was a Genjutsu was actually the real one, and the crows were just a diversion to make him think otherwise. Itachi on death's door takes this one. In general, I thought Itachi always had the advantage, not stats wise because this is obviously equal stats, but more just in the number of win cons he had. He just had so many, from like a lucky Totsuka blade hit, to Izanami, to Kodo Matsukami if you still grant him having it, or even Tsukiyomi if he opted to go for a longer version off rip, or was obstinate enough to try it again a second time. Don't get me wrong, it's not like Byakuya doesn't have his own paths to victory, those mostly being a Senki into a final slash, or stalling to win a battle of attrition, but it's a bit limited compared to Itachi's. What he really has going for him are just the number of counters he has to Itachi's obvious insta-win attacks. Like other Shinigami, he can fly, so the Totsuka blade is kinda useless unless used with a sneak attack. His Zanpakuto Spirit also nullifies most of his Genjutsu arsenal, and Senkei counters the Yada Mirror. So he can draw this fight for a long time, and possibly if he plays his cards right, win a battle of attrition like I mentioned. But overall, I think with a long enough exposure, Itachi would be able to pull off one of his win cons before he was too fatigued to win. In general, I give the battle to Itachi like 7 times out of 10. However, not to get too much further into the hypothetical, but if he swiftly packed up by Renji, he'd have handled Kisame because he doesn't have any chakra for him to absorb, and he can fly, so his flooding of the battlefield was kinda useless. Anyways, Rukia is retrieved and returned to the Serite. It was kind of a pain in the ass to find the exact panels to match the flow and exact moves I had in mind when I initially visualized the fight. I actually had to switch up my process and work backwards. I had to get every action scene with both characters from their mangas, and then craft a battle scenario that flows with what I had. Anyways, I hope I was pretty clear with my reasonings for why who won, but what do you guys think? Let me know your arguments in the comments, and please make some logical sense with them. I'm not going to respond to someone who clearly didn't watch the video or is a Bleach or Itachi tard. Honestly, there are too many of you. That about sums it up, so peace out folks.